Hello, Paul. Welcome to Leadership Inside Out. Paul, for our listeners, Paul and I have known each other for a few years. We've worked together, and genuinely, I'm looking forward to today's session. Paul, welcome.
Guy, thank you so much for the invitation.
So, Paul, as we've explained, or as I've explained a little bit earlier, Leadership Inside Out is very much around understanding personal journeys. It's about, recognizing that on the outside we may look very similar to others. You and I,
Yep,
at one level, white, male, of a certain age, but
maybe.
underneath it all, we are all unique. We're all different, and we've all gone through our own personal hardships and personal barriers, and it's an opportunity to show, and give advice to our younger selves, if we feel that's necessary. So, welcome.
Thank you, Guy. And I say, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because, like I say, I think we've learned as well, isn't it? Sometimes it's about having conversations with people, and sometimes that's where
Absolutely,
the best lessons come from. So, yeah, I'm really looking
absolutely.
forward to today.
No, and as we were talking earlier, I mean, I absolutely love these sessions because I learn so much, and it's a privilege to listen, and to share and understand where people have come from. Because you're right, we I learn from others as much as I hope others learn from you. So,
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Paul, tell me where it all started. We were talking about early years as an apprentice. Does it
Yep.
go back earlier than that? Ireland, I think, is the starting point.
I wouldn't say quite Ireland, but I think like the starting point for me, it's I see it quite often these days, isn't it? Sort of like when you see these kids, like on like Facebook or something like that, you see the kids on their bikes doing crazy things, this, that, and the other, and then you look at the generation today that basically was sitting in front of their computer type of thing. So me personally, I think from where did things start? You're quite right. I think what started me on the journey that where I am today was in engineering. Actually, I did a time served apprenticeship. And it's, what are apprenticeships? For me, it's a life changing skill that they give you. And it's about problem solving. The fact is, where are we today? If the power goes off, we're in darkness. What do? We can't turn on a computer. But if you've got those life skills, you know how
Mm.
to survive in challenging times that we actually have in our careers as well. So for me, yeah, that apprenticeship was probably the cornerstone of where I started my career, my learning, and the best place to make mistakes because if you can't have a safe environment where to learn from lessons, learn from mistakes, look at the problem solving element to it, but also the key thing is the support mechanism around that as well. So for me, hopefully one thing I want to sort of talk about today as well is that wherever we are in our worlds, wherever we are in our careers, it can be quite a lonely place. But,
Yes.
but so yeah, you're going to do it alone, but don't ensure that it's not a lonely experience. Make sure that you've got a supported network, a community around you as well.
Mm.
So.
And that was Motorola, is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, when it's like when you talk about engineering, it's like, what is engineering? So
Yeah.
what I was talking to you earlier, Guy, was literally something that you can symbolize what engineering is about. So we used to work
Mm.
in very much in like precious metals. So everyone can remember perhaps when we used to have a pen in our hands as well. So I used to make everything from like, the pen nibs to your clip on so you can put it on your shirt type of thing to when the first mobile phones were coming around, all the precious metals that clipped into your SIM cards, right through to all the automotive connections you have, right through telecommunications. This was a specialist organization, but they focus really on how to build the best in people, and very much obviously focus on the UK skills. And today we're still focusing on reskilling, upskilling. It's not something new, but I think we've forgotten how to help and train people be the best that they can, from my point of view. And that's a bit of a passion of myself coming through there. But in the walks of life that I've done, I've learned that, do you know what? And if you've had a good leader, you know, and sometimes you
Mm.
don't actually know that you're actually working with a great leader until it's too late. You've moved on. And I always remembered myself, a few of the organizations I work with, and thinking, do you know what? If I could just take 10% of what I saw in that guy and apply it to how I would then work with others in the future, I'll be in a good place. And and I think it is those learnings, and people talk about what is leadership type of thing, but I think it is those learnt lessons of how you can inspire others to be the best that they can be, and that's really what challenges me. But I would say as well, and you have to cut in here at some point because I will carry on. But for me, when we talk about leadership, inside out, it's not just something that stops. I know none of us do like a 9 to 5 role anymore, but literally, who are you as an individual? So I was working with some of the sector skills councils in the UK, a lot of institutions that really were looking about the workforce development programs and everything like that. But what it also inspired me was actually, do you know what I can also do is I can help other people by using the skills I've learned, perhaps from a business point of view, and set up a non-profit community initiative. And that's still thriving today. That's 10 years old next year. But what it's done, it's basically inspired people. It's given them the confidence to be the best they can be. Yes, it's got a sporting theme. So from a coaching point of view, yes, I was in my element. And I know there's a difference between business coaching and sports coaching. And before we have an argument about that, but can I inspire someone to do something that they felt that was beyond them, that they couldn't do it? I mean, I've got an example, I've got a gentleman, he was 85 years young, and he had a target of getting to 100 medals, and I was on that journey with him, and I was there when I got him across the finishing line. And it was that point you're thinking, this is what we're about. This is what we're about as people, and I think that's so inspiring. He's still going now. He's 87, and he has his challenges in life. He has his hurdles, not to take too much of the sporting pun there, but he's still going. And I speak to him. He says, "You just don't appreciate how you've inspired me, how you've given me the confidence to continue." And that gives you a bit of a warm glow sometimes when you're waking up and it's dark, it's dismal, and it's raining, and you're thinking, what is my purpose in life? And I think you have to reflect on actually what is it we have and where is our self-worth. That's me in a bit of a nutshell, really.
So, I mean, talk me through your career journey, if you want to. I mean, I know, you and I have talked and covered a lot of ground over the few years we've known each other. But apprenticeship, what got you into that? What was it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, why do we do what we do sometimes, and we challenge ourselves in those questions. And I think perhaps it was a different era, but do you know what? I actually followed my dad. My dad was a skilled engineer, valued obviously in society, sort of thing, and I had a bit of a talent for it, shall we say? And I found an organisation. I actually got out, looked at my local area, and found a business that was taking on apprenticeships. I always remember my dad put me in the car, sort of thing. This is on you. You have to make this happen. I will drive you there, but you need to go and open that door and get that sort of sorted out for yourself. So I remember that was a few years ago now, and I must say I found my old indentured apprenticeship papers. You actually there was it was had a ribbon. It was all the scrolling, everything like that. It was a formal document.
Wow.
And my dad had to sign it. Yeah, you can have my son, making the best that he can be, type of thing. So that was my starting out. But then I think through that, I was then given the opportunity. Then I went into design engineering, but then I started to get a flavour for working with people. And like I basically I was in the office and the phone went, oh no, Paul's going to be on the phone again. He's going to be talking to someone. So I started to build up like real good like customer relationships. Really understand. So it wasn't just a case. Here's your job, Paul. No. I want to see why we're doing it. What's the purpose of what we're trying to do? Understand, obviously, the customer reason for that, and really getting into that. And that started building me then into a career that I'm still doing now, which is very much, I see it as like a sales ambassador type of thing. So what's, it's sales. It's about, the direct relationships. It's going to events. It's holding courts. Being a bit of a thought leader, working with international partners as well.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, as I think we were saying earlier, and where is it that you can work, as I did as an apprentice, working with like national infrastructure organizations, you know, from power, energy, gas, right through now to also actually working with the royal household. You know, it's like, where is it that you have those opportunities, but you have to put yourself out there? Yes, you get knockbacks. Yes, you have to pick yourself, you dust yourself off, and you go again. But you've learned from that, and you build on that. And I always remember this little cartoon type of thing. It's like, yeah, do you see, you know, the next step as a barrier? No, you see that as the next step to take you higher in the place that you want to be, type of thing. So yeah, so for me, yeah, you know, when you talk about what roles I've been involved with, what organisations have helped with, type of thing. You know, it was even once I remember a project I was doing, and I was down at the fire service college. I had a phone call, and the lady says, "Oh, do you know, Paul, I'm not too sure what this gentleman's talking about." Okay, well, I'll take the call. I won't go into too much detail because I know time's limited today. But you knew there was something about the guy, and he said, "Look, I've been talking to the college for a little while now, sort of thing. I need some answers." I said, "Look, I'm here tomorrow. Come in." And there was a few things he said, and I'm thinking he's not your normal type of guy. And I realised, you know, he was something special. There was some special operations stuff, and it's like, where did it? And he said, "Look, I just want answers." I said, "Do you know what? I can give you the answers. Now I understand what you're trying to achieve." I brought the people in. It was a fantastic project, and I always remember where I was. They were up high, and then I did another project for the national resilient teams, basically for the ambulance crews, and I actually had those working on a rubble pile. Had these other guys higher up doing something, and then I got a phone call, "Paul, what's happening?" You know, you've got the National Ambulance Resilient Team working on something. You've got another guy, some special guys doing something else up top, getting into a building. And okay, I'll go out. Guys, I've had this call out sort of thing, health and safety. Yeah, Paul, but we're wearing PPE, aren't we? I said, yeah. So that's the great check that the PPE is the right fit for the purpose. And I said, okay, everyone's happy. Rock on, get on with it, guys. But yeah, so yeah, it's about taking those life opportunities, and you know, they recognise. Obviously, I went over and above, but you know, it is about, can you go that extra mile for people? The reason you do that is not because whatever, you just know that you can help someone on their journey. And achieve what they want to achieve. So yeah, we've done a lot.
And I mean, we've spoken as well. You've done a bit in the space industry as well.
Yeah, I think, yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, and when we say space, we're not talking about some storage that my wife needs to go and put some of her stuff in. This is literally, yeah, sort of on the new age element of growth. You know, I see that, you know, coming forward, that there are new opportunities. You know, and we pivot sometimes from where we are to somewhere new, and that transformation can be painful, but also if you don't do that, you're never going to know what that experience was like and what can you actually learn from that as well. And yeah, I think it's again, you know, I believe, and I've done a lot of work with sector skills councils as well. It's sort of, you know, when we, you know, as we talked about, you know, being an apprentice, we had a challenge that we didn't have the skilled workforce. It's now even more amplified, I see, in the world. But I think, you know, if we can grasp the opportunities that we have as individuals, people, teams of an organisation, and that organisation to be the best that they can be as well, I think it could be a lot better place. And I remember once I did a little project for, you know, like, I mean, I love social impact and social value, and they are two different things. But for me, I was working with an organisation. You know, I'm very much in the training, the learning and development world and learning sciences. But you know, sometimes it's just being, should we say, just having a bit of a footprint on a project. And there was one recently, I've checked on how successful it had been. And I put something together, similar to how you and I were working a few years ago. And this organisation, I read up that I helped to put a platform together behind the scenes. So it's not front of house. I'm not claiming anything like that, but we were able to help influence that. And what I mean by that, their measurement of success, they put 38 billion of social value with their customers and clients. And it's like, do you know what? You know, I'm not claiming that, you know, how much they're influenced, but we've been able to be part of something that's been life-changing for so many organizations and people inside those organizations. And yeah, when you think back, you think, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, that was great to be part of that. And you know, it for me, you know, as I say, when we do our webinars and something like that, you know, like today, I believe that if you can't do your job with a smile on your face, then you're doing the wrong job.
Yeah.
And people that have perhaps been on some of my webinars, oh no, it's Paul again. But I love being the host of it, because I say to people, look, the main objective today is quite simple. If you've been on one of the sessions, literally all I want you to do is take something away that you didn't know before the actual session. And if you can apply it tomorrow to make it better for yourselves, then you know what? That was the value of basically coming onto some of these webinars as well that we do, because they're run by industry for industry, and it doesn't matter what that industry is. You talked about the space sector, but it could be the health, delivering impact in there with communications to staff that may have bereaved families. It's do you know what? It's just the fact of, it's not major impact. It's just having a light touch to move the needle in a positive direction, both for individuals and perhaps the community that we love and live in. So yeah, and I won't go too deep, but for me as well, it's about putting pride back in what we do.
I agree.
For me, we talk about societal change and everything like that. Do you know what? We can watch it and we can watch it drift away, but sometimes you just think, do you know what? I need to step up to the mark and I need to do something. And that's when I set up that membership organization, as I talked about the gentleman previously. But I know that if anyone goes out in my local community, they will bump into someone that they didn't know before. And the fact is that I see people doing challenges these days that they would never have done before, whether it's running cross-country marathons to doing a park run of 5k on a Saturday morning, when, like this weekend, it's been absolutely blowing a hoolie, should we say. But do you know what? It's just that for me is so not rewarding, but just puts a bit of a warmth back in the old heart in some respects about people and values.
Right.
So anyway.
Can you talk me through some instances where you've seen an opportunity, or you've had to focus, and there was barriers, there were things to overcome? Talk me through how you approach that. Talk me through your mindset.
As we said, life is one big challenge, and I think for me, first and foremost is, do you know what? Yeah, we all have challenges, but it's, do we see it as a brick wall that we cannot surmount that, or do we take one brick out of the wall at a time, type of thing, when we're actually looking at challenges? I think that's really important, because else you just turn around and go another direction, and that direction could then be another brick wall. So you have to take it head on. And how do you approach that? I always remember, actually, it was actually quite early in my career. I literally worked for an organization. The managing director says, they were phenomenal in the automotive industry, Guy. They had major global contracts, and they said, we need more business. Brilliant. Okay. But my immediate managing director, he was based in Germany. I was based in the UK. I rocked up to our UK offices. I said, hey, yeah, I'm the new business development manager. Why have we got one of them? Well, I hope you're going to tell me. But literally, the challenge is literally, you can do everything, but you're not allowed to touch the automotive industry. I said, but where do we, where do we add value to the automotive industry? You cannot touch it. I'm thinking, hang on a second. I've just started I was quite fresh into sales at that time. And I'm thinking, no, this isn't quite how I thought this role would be. When you sort of qualify out the questions, this, that, and the other. And I always remember sitting down, similar to where we are today, and I said, what are we about? He says, well, I've given you a computer, I've given you a phone. Yeah, and that's it. I want you now to go out into the world, and I want you to start generating, new opportunities for the business. And I'm thinking, okay, that's really good. And thank you very much for the opportunity. Well, where do I start? And I did the normal sort of thing. Looking for all these lists. I was doing this, that, and the other. I was calling people, but it was that point I thought, do you know what? This isn't working. It really isn't working. I'm thinking, where am I going to go with this? This is my opportunity. And then what I realised was actually the people value. The fact is, so I went to speak to the guys, and they were very experienced, guys, done their thing. You know, they can strip down the vehicle, they do the illustrations for it, they tell you how long it does, this, that, and the other. And they had a process there. And I said, can you explain a little bit more what you do when you go into these organizations? Well, we do a strip down of this. We can tell them the procedurals, the policies, the governance behind it. We can, okay, fine. And that got me thinking, it's like, right, okay, I can do anything, but not in the automotive industry. So what happened with this challenge, I thought, right, where can I go that's got a similar type of approach? So I actually went into the luxury super yacht market space. Now, okay, that's fine, but but it was they produced produced the bits of materials, and I thought I really loved it. You know, like the old owner manuals.
Yeah.
So I went down. I won't talk about the organisation by name, if whatever, but went down there and actually got talking to the operations director just by picking the phone up, doing the basic things well, and having a conversation with someone. Went down there, talked him through the processes, and it was actually, I think it was actually, might have been my very first sale. How old this was, Guy? I actually took a photograph of the check that they paid us with, and I've still got it somewhere in my old sort of archive of stuff. But then realised for me that the challenge is sometimes the challenge of not seeing and listening, and then working with people and giving the voice to what we do rather than always the technology. And it was sort of that point you're thinking, yeah, as I talked about, you know, you do it alone, but don't make it a lonely experience. If I try and keep that theme today, and reaching out to other people in your network, because people, if you have a conversation, they are more than willing to help you out. You just got to have the bravery to pick the phone up and say, do you know what? I'm not in a good place. Can you help me? You know, and people have also been in that experience, and they will say, yeah, okay, do this, do that, and see if that makes a difference. If it doesn't, I'll come back and ask for more questions. So for me, that was probably one of the biggest challenges of like, how do I take that brick wall apart one piece at a time? And
it's wonderful advice, Paul, because I mean, again, you know, my first job, proper career, I stumbled into it in the same way, given a responsibility for incentives, sale incentives. And so I went and asked everybody in the process. And in that time, you know, for the sake of a coffee and a bit of time, built up a network, built up an awareness, and became the go-to person for, you know, in the HR team for knowing who to talk to get things done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've got just quickly, just two little points on that as well. I went for another organisation, and I started there, and they said, I said, you know, tell me the process. You know, I've got someone who wants to work with us. Good. First job, tick. What's the process internally? Oh, you want to get a price? Yeah, you know, like sort of thing, because it was multifaceted program. Or it takes about 4 to 5 weeks to get a price out. I said, sorry, I've got someone here who's really interested. By that time, it goes through the process. So you know the old sort of cliche, right? I've got a piece of paper, and I will walk it round to all the different departments and say, look, the reason I'm asking for this, I've got an organisation I think you would love to work with as well that wants to work with us. Could you? This is why I'm asking the question. And then it was that point of actually building out the empathy element of why we were doing stuff.
Absolutely.
And people realised, because they've already done things in a particular way, and I was coming in trying to do things differently because there was a new challenge in the organisation, and it was just taking it through. And do you know what? That process basically got refined and refined to the point that we actually generated how we say that this is a major organization, but we created several £million worth of revenue just by getting people on boards, realizing their purpose, their value in that process. And you know what, we just had a fantastic team, and it was just by going back to basics. And I always got these little cliches, but yeah, just do simple things well, and you'll be amazed at the actual result from that. And and I had a smile on my face at the same time.
I mean, what's coming through, Paul, in this interview, but also, I mean, in terms of my time over the years working with you, is the mindset that you've got, which is your, and I hate to use the word, but I think it's actually really appropriate. It's your superpower.
Do you know? Yeah. I wouldn't say it's superpower, but do you know what? I just think that for me, I have a drive and a passion to do something, and sometimes it's just helping people. I mean, it's like, with one of the organisations where the founder of the organisation had dyslexic and tendencies type of thing. But it was I did some just talks with him, and it wasn't the fact, when organisations look at individuals, it is a superpower. And what the challenge is sometimes for organisations is actually to realise that these people have superpowers. And their job really from a leader is to tap into that and then get them to shine, for me, that's why, I love coaching as well, and the fact is, and I was talking to someone, actually it was a New Year's party. Don't worry where this conversation is going, but this lady came up, she says, do you know what, Paul, I just want to thank you. I said, sorry? Sort of thing. And I was there with my wife and at the New Year's party, and I'm thinking, thank you for what type of thing. You may not recall, but some years ago, my son had some challenges in life, and you were the coach that helped him. It's like, oh, nice. That changed our life. And that's where you think that's what our purpose is. Obviously that was quite an emotive thing, but and it's, for me, it's just, can you tap into that? Can you help someone? And I know it's a bit of a cliche thing, but do you know what? If you can do that, it's just so rewarding, And I see these guys around the town, they're sort of in their 30s now type of thing. And right, Higgins, how's it going? Let's go down the pub and have a drink type of thing. It just, for me, it's basically solidified people in the local communities, and they're thriving now. And, the only thing that changed was how we put something into their lives it was a constant. It was a routine for them, and we gave them a gift, which basically meant they were empowered. So I won't give you any more sort of football analogies, but literally I said, do you know what, your role today, it's like if I was starting in a business today, your role today, all I want you to do is stop the ball and kick it off. Sorry? That's all I said. Do that. Get comfortable with that. And I tell you what, by the end of the season, that guy was up front and he was scoring goals for whoever type of thing. So, and that's why sometimes you don't realise what you're doing, but when someone comes back from years later and says, do you know what, thank you, that's really what life's about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I want to pick up a point you made earlier, which I think also is a very powerful one. Many people that I work with and come across, they don't like asking for help. They think somehow it's weak, or people aren't interested, or people don't care. Yeah. And I've never been of that mindset. I've always, my father was a wonderful giver, and I was, I've been a giver most of my life. Never thought about getting stuff in return, and yet when I really needed it, when I desperately needed it, people came out of the woodwork, people I didn't even know, to give back. And I was late to learn the lesson. Sounds like you're a little earlier, but people actually like giving. People like being part of that. They want to feel like they can help you, as long as it's something they can focus on. Yeah, it's not about money. It's about productive, or it's about proactive help. It's the practical things that people really enjoy, that they feel they can make a difference in other people's lives.
And I think also, like, the sentiments you're talking about, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely.
It just, for me, and it's, I take your point. I think you're so right. It's sometimes you never know the card that you're going to be dealt. But if you know that you've been the best person that you can be, both from a professional point of view, the person walking down the street, just good morning, how are you type of thing, and this stranger thinking, who the hell was that type of thing. But the thing is, if you don't go out and help people be the best that they can be, even from as we were talking about early careers, helping people today, how best do they start, and it's sometimes. And I was talking a little while ago about something else, but that self-worth. The fact is, do you know what? Okay, you've either gone through education, you've gone to college, or you've gone to universities, or something like that. That you have a value, you have a worth, and do not let anyone tell you that you don't. It's for me. And if they do, give me a shout and let's have a chat about it. But for me, it's like when I talk to business leaders. Sometimes it's like, I was talking to a gentleman a little while ago, probably about this time last year. And do you know what? He was looking for a particular application for his business, and he said to me, "Do you know what, Paul? I've been looking for 6 months in the world that I live in, which is obviously training and learning and development sort of solutions." He said, "You're the only person who spoke to me about what is it I'm trying to do for my business." What is my strategy, sort of thing. You're the only person who's actually talked to me about that, because if you don't understand that bit, how can you actually help me? And for me, you've just got to know the people that you're working with. You've got to understand the personal challenges they're going up against.
Yeah.
And how is it that we can just, as we talked about, do you know what? We can't solve everything, and we never can be. But if we can just move that dial to the right hand side positively to help someone, then
Yeah.
hopefully that gift that we've given, they will then give that gift to someone else.
Yeah.
And
No,
I know we're in business, but ultimately business, when people talk about, I'm not the face of the email. I'm basically here because I can, I want to work with organizations. I have a passion for trying to bring positive impact to an organization,
yeah.
and the fact is, yes. Is it emotive? Yes. Is it tiring? Yes. Is it rewarding? 100%.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. No, it's remarkable. When I first came to the UK, I had, a couple of people, and I don't even remember the name of some of them, but
yeah.
they stepped up and took off what I call the rough edges of, my Kiwi background.
Yeah.
And, here am I, 30 plus.
That's enough.
That's enough. Yeah. 30 plus years. And I'm writing books. I'm doing this podcast because, again, it's about, that help I had as a young person. It stayed with me, and I'll probably never have a chance to say thank you, but
yeah, I know what you're saying.
yeah.
No, I mean, it's like I got an invitation once. I was to do a talk, and saying thank you, but it was just while I was listening to what you were just saying. But I got asked to go, and again, in my world, I meet some lovely people and some really interesting people as well. And this organization, I sent them some information. It's, that was so inspiring, this and the other. And I think, did I write that? Anyway, but they said, could you come and give a talk to the future of education? And I'm thinking, yes. Who's the target audience type of thing? And it's like educators, university professors from all over the world. It was a global thing. And
Wow.
and I was sort of thinking, because I believe also all the things we're talking about, but I also have to push myself. And so I had this opportunity, flew over to Dublin, over to Trinity College, and walked into a room. I'm thinking, are these my people? Like, have I actually gone through the wrong door? But it's like, how can I be relatable to them?
Yeah.
The president of this organization did his normal introduction. I'd like to introduce you to Paul. I'm thinking, all right, okay, great. And he talked about what he saw as the future of education and everything like that.
Wow.
And he just mentioned about AR, VR technologies. Just by chance, I had also had experience of working in that industry of giving AR, VR technologies out there as well. And so obviously I've done lots of research, and I said, gentlemen and ladies of the audience, I said, just before we get started, I've got a question for you. And they sort of like looking around. Okay, that's an interesting way to start this conversation. I said, when was the very first use of virtual reality equipment type of thing? And obviously gave them a few false leads, not like myself, of course, and it was like the Eurovision, Ireland, nil point, sort of thing. But that should be more pretty the UK with our sort of history there. And it was just getting people to talk and engage and everything like that. And I said, it's not quite right, sort of thing. The very use of this technology, it's like, what do you mean? 80s got really popular, and obviously today it's a mainstay, but it's only part of a bigger picture. I said, no, it was like 1838 or something like that. Professor Charles Wheatstone, and some of that technology is still used in X-ray equipment now. And people said, sorry. No. We are the educator. No, I said that, and it broke down the barriers, because
Absolutely.
let's talk about what it is. And by the end of it, I ended up being known as the learning science guy. Like, where did that come from? But it was just basically, if you've got a passion for something and you can bring it to the fore, and you engage with people, don't talk to them, listen to them, engage with them. And do you know what? It's a fantastic journey when it happens. And those people now I'm still in contact with, so that's probably a testament to that type of approach. And being, I think, there's lots of words that are thrown around our industry in it, but I think, can you be authentic to yourself? Yeah. Right. People don't always know what they're going to get, but you know what? We have a good time. It's informative, and there's a respect for each other in the room, and
absolutely.
That's really what it's about for me.
Well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So let's get to the difficult question then.
Come on then. I like my shirt, really. No, go
if you were to look back to 20, 30 years ago, what advice would you give yourself back then?
Yeah.
What advice would you give young people? Because we've been talking a bit about young people today. What advice would you give young people today?
Yeah, I think for me, and if I was, and the wider population, is do something that you love. I know that's quite an emotive statement, but if you're actually doing something that you enjoy, you find that you probably stay with you for the rest of your life. So from my point of view, when I started out work, it's like, is this it? Is it the four walls that I work within, sort of thing? And for me, I knew that there was more to give. So for me, I looked at myself. If I be reflective about myself, I was doing work. I was being practical. I was engaging with people, but I felt there was more to give, and that's where my journey started in respects. But I had a fantastic foundation. But really, to go back to the point, if I was giving some advice today to an individual that I didn't know, and I was asking them questions, if you just asked me, what is it you actually like doing? What lessons are, if you're in education, through those sort of programs, what really resonated with you? What excited you? What actually felt that you wanted to go to that lesson? And the thing, if you can then encapsulate that, that might not be the whole part of the picture, but say like, my son, he loved working with his hands, similar to myself, I started out type of thing. But then, he got a real interest in working with wood. And I was going backwards and forwards. I don't know if I was going to see yourself up in London type of thing. I got talking to a guy and he said, oh, how's the family type of thing? I said, oh, not too bad. Jack's just started at college doing this, that and the other. And he said, does he enjoy what he does? I said, oh, absolutely. He's coming back. He's got these work examples, when they're an apprentice, on these colleges, they make stuff, don't they? And, I've still got a frame somewhere, a window frame in my office of what Jack first made. But he said, does he genuinely interested in it? I said, yeah, really. He said, you do know that I've got my own carpentry business. Wow. I'm looking for an apprentice. Now you said that he's got a passion for it, he's got an interest for it. Send him along. Let's have a chat with him. I'm not going to promise anything. No. But if he turns up, ask him to bring some examples and get him to explain why he's doing what he's doing. Does he enjoy it? Where does he see himself going? And I tell you what, he now, I know, obviously, I appreciate your son's gone on a university pathway. My son went on a more of an apprentice pathway. But the way they have equal value, and it's what it is. But then, if they find a mentor or a champion that can actually then encapsulate that, and then give them that stepping stone, and I say that person I know type of thing. It wasn't through my relationships. It was basically about Jack's passion, what he had. Then he's built a career in that, and now from someone that's sort of like, Dad, I don't get any money for this. No, you're learning a skill. You're working a life skill that will be with you for the rest of your life. Now, he's actually working in multi-million-pound houses, doing the lessons he's learnt. He's actually now putting in bespoke furniture. He's fitting, and it's like he's in a different world to where he started with. So you don't know where your end journey is going to be, but if you put the effort in with the passion, you never know where that journey will take you, and hopefully it's in a better place.
Wow, great advice.
Yeah,
thank you.
No. We're not going to start crying on this session, are we?
Well, not yet. You'll be the first.
But no, you got to be emotive about these things.
No, absolutely, and It's a wonderful example because I mean, I work with quite a few young people. Just one of those things. And one of the biggest issues is, people, young people especially, but people generally finding the things they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And then there's still a big leap. Once they've got that, there's still a very big leap to then, well, it's like, how can I make money out of this? And that's a bit of creativity, a bit of lateral thinking, but the starting point has to be, what do you enjoy doing? What is it that
Yeah.
wakes you up and gets you up and keeps you going late into the night because you don't want to stop?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, and even like today, sometimes it's, if I've got a challenge and thinking I need to get that resolved, and sometimes I will do. My wife rings, "What are you doing?" I just need to get this resolved because tomorrow is another day. So I want to park this, get it right, and basically get that through the process to make sure then it can actually then doesn't positively impacts on the next part of the process. But you need to put some miles in sometimes, but you know what? Sometimes those miles are worth doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, Paul, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you another. Given your background, given your expertise
Yes,
in the training and development industry,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you another question, if you don't mind, and that is, looking forward. I know that's a bit of a fool's game sometimes to try and predict.
Yeah.
And we had a very brief conversation about AI before we came on camera. But thoughts, starting out, not only just for young people, but for any professional.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see skills? Where do you see critical skills, knowledge going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think just on the skills bit, skills is one of the most valuable thing that you have as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we are seeing is obviously influences on that, and those influences are technology that are coming through, but doesn't mean to say so. Like we as we talked about AI coming through as well, and I always remember that one line type of thing. You won't get replaced by AI. Anyway, I'll get that right in a minute. But literally, the person that is using AI will replace you. So I think that we do need to embrace it, but I also believe that there has to be a measure against it as well. So, and the fact, we were talking about recruitment just, prior to this as well. And the fact is that, there's some great platforms out there, and AI is part of that now. It's giving you suggestions, giving you prompts, as much as you obviously using the large language models as well. But I think that there is a place for it. But I think we also need to make sure that we don't lose. And I taught this with many organizations, don't lose your personality in what you deliver as an organization and more so as an individual. The technology is a tool that needs to be used appropriately and measured, from my perspective, but we do need to embrace it. We can't ignore it. It is here, it is widely available, and it is influencing our lives immensely. I know obviously it had a big bang, but organizations have been using it for years, but I do see that there is actually having an impact into recruitment. So I think from us, and how can we help organizations and people, is actually, do you know what, that AI is only a tool, but equally, if I've got an advert and there's like 200 plus 400 600 people going for one role, what's actually happening there? Is it are we trying to get their AI tool to talk to my AI tool, and then that's a great selection process? But when I hear that organizations are crying out for talent, and then I talk to people in my own network, is I would love to work for that organization, and at the moment where everything is still in transition, I think there's major opportunities being missed. I know that I've spoken to thought leaders in my industries as well, and it's literally, do you know what? It's about, don't lose the focus about the people, as you talked about just a minute ago, asking for help, asking for some guidance, because I think then you've got more of a blended approach to this, and hopefully that will then resonate with the transition where people are pivoting from this is how we've always done things to this is a new age coming through, and we need to differentiate ourselves, have our personality in what we do, and use the
Yeah,
technology for that. You know, I always talk about technology that gives us scale and scope sometimes, but literally let's make sure that we use it to help us, not hinder us in our own career developments as well.
wonderful. And things like constant learning, constant positivity.
Do you know what? Yeah, you're the when you talk about positivity, do you have to look to someone else over your shoulder for it? No, you have to look at yourself. You have to be that positive engine, should we say, that light bulb. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The fact is, if you're in a darkened room, make sure that you're the person that is the light bulb. Basically shine out in that, because you're the only person that can pull that switch. And for me, that's the key thing that I would try to take from anything that we talk about today. Think of yourself as a lighthouse, you know, sending out those messages basically to those ships in the night that basically could be a vehicle for you in your career development. Could be actually not perhaps for you, but you could help someone else out there as well that you find by searching and researching. So yeah, I don't know where that light bulb and lighthouse thing come from, but I think it's hopefully symbolizes that, do you know what, if you want to glow, if you want that positivity, it's down to yourself. And if you can do it with guidance and support around you, then that's such a good place to be. And don't get me wrong, it's a hard place, and I'm suffering with that as well. But I know that it's down to me to make that difference, make that change. But also, don't
wow,
to lose the focus of actually about giving to people in your network, in your community, for a better life for everybody.
wonderful. Thank you.
That's
Any last words, Paul?
for me. I would say that anyone out there today that is not in that a great place, whether it is from a leadership perspective, from a life perspective, please, you know, you're doing it alone, but do not be lonely doing it. Reach out to someone. Guy, me, we're all out there. If you want us, just contact us. We will help you however we can. If we don't, we might know someone who can as well.
Almost always we know somebody who can.
We can do. But Guy, I appreciate us having this conversation today. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully anyone that's listening in today has been able to take something and hopefully given them a smile, and hopefully they can take something away from it that they didn't have before this. And if it's just a little bit more of a warmth in their heart to feel that they can help someone else in their journey, then we've achieved our job today. So Guy, I appreciate the opportunity for us to catch up, and hopefully can help more people in the future. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul, and thank you. It's been a joy, as always it is when I talk to you, but you bring a wonderful perspective on, well, leadership, but also on self-leadership. So thank you very, very much from me.